It consistently runs and is free and open to the public. So if you like this type of intellectual dialogue and seeing discussion and seeing the work of contemporary artists from around the country and the world, please make sure that you come back and inspire others. Inspire other students, family, friends to come and see these talks. All of the schedule's posted online. If you look up Artists Now, UWM, Tech School of the Arts, you'll get the schedule and you'll see the unbelievable artists that are coming to present to us all semester long. So please, let's make this a full house every time we have a lecture, an open public lecture. So part of my job is, the very first night, is just to lay down a little ground rules for those of you who haven't seen a visiting artist present. Many of you already have. My class is half art students, half anyone from the university. Many of those folks probably haven't seen a visiting artist. First and foremost, everyone should turn off their cell phone so you don't interrupt the artist when she's presenting. Second, imagine this analogy. All the musicians one could find in the country, city, and world, they came to present and came up here solo. They're going to be different. Every person's going to express something different, tell a different portion of their life, and that's what makes the series so exciting. Every week is going to be completely different. And I tell my students, you learn a lot from the talks. You see a portion of what the artist does, but you also learn how artists live and how artists survive and how they continue their practice. And one of the other best facets of these talks are the questions that come from you. We always dedicate at least 15 minutes or so, sometimes more, to questions. So please, it's up to the artist presenting if she'd like to take questions during her talk or after. But after, whenever the question period happens, especially after, which usually after the talk is when the questions come in, let's have a 15-minute discussion where you're asking intriguing questions, thoughtful questions, challenging questions, where you're free to express what you like, what you find problematic, and so forth of the work expressed. That, to me, is one of the best facets of this experience, is the dialogue that happens between the artist and you folks. So let's have that happen. I think that is all I have to introduce about the format. Typically, the artist will present to about 8:15 or so, 8 o'clock. Questions tend to go to about 8:20, 8:30. For those of you who are in my class, we break then from 8:30 to 8:45. And right on the dime at 8:45, we start up the second half of the class that you're in. All of you, obviously, for the public lecture, that's, you know, at the end of the talk, that's the end of the evening. But I also welcome you folks to come down and talk to the artist. It's always encouraging and nice to see when a dozen or so people come down and dialogue with the artist to, you know, express what they like or make contacts or so forth. So feel free to do that. We'll have a 15-minute interlude, essentially a break for my students, and you can stay here or head out or so forth. So last thing I want to do is hype up next week, which I really don't need to do. Next week is September 19th, is Hank Willis Thomas is presenting. My advice is get here early and claim your seat. That is at any rate, the statement from Hank Willis Thomas. In his work, Thomas deals with the often forgotten or avoided issues of race, class, and gender history through the familiar language of popular culture and advertising. He creates two-dimensional sculptural and digital time-based collage works that explore how visual culture of the past affects and interacts our current worldview. So next week is Hank Willis Thomas, and I'll preview the upcoming Artist Now speaker each time we have a person presenting. And I don't know if this is okay with Joe's or something, but if you can't, especially if you're an art student, you can't make Hank Willis Thomas's talk next week because of scheduling. You might want to talk to Josie about his talk that's happening that's happening that same day at 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock to 12:15.
11 o'clock to 12:15. So some of you who have a schedule conflict, you might want to come and attend, see his talk at 11 o'clock. So, Martin, without further ado, Marta shall introduce John Rowe. And usually I don't talk this much before an introduction, but we're setting up the new semester. You know, but she-
Everybody knows I talk loudly, right? You all hear me, right? It's more than my pleasure to introduce Shanru to you. First, I want to say that the reason that Shanru is here is because she is participating in an exhibition at Villa Terrace Decorative Arts Museum that Dennis Sargent and I are curating, and it opens on September 27th. So you are going to get, after you see all of the amazing installation work she does, you'll have an opportunity to see her installation work in person there. It's sometimes a little difficult for me to talk about Shanru. I generally describe her as being my heart. She was a graduate student here from 1993 to 1996. Before that, she got her BFA from the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. And I'm going to read, so I don't confuse everything, her bio can be a part of the exhibition. It says, for 20 years, Shanru has been reusing found objects, especially those that have been discarded from industrial factories, in her sculpture installation work, thereby reinventing their purpose. She uses sculptural form space and site-specific formats to communicate about the human experience, the body, and the blending of Eastern and Western cultures. In the 15 years since receiving her MFA at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, she has participated in 20 solo and 40 group exhibitions, both national and international, including Casablanca, Morocco, which is a very recent installation and thing she did, Taipei and Kaohsiung in Taiwan, and also in China, twice now, right? She has been awarded artist residencies in Maine, Thailand, and Morocco. And her work has appeared in Sculpture magazine, which is this copy, September 2011. There's a big article on her, which anybody's welcome to come afterwards and look at. The Surface Design Journal and the International Journal of Arts and Society. In 2006, she received the Graduate of the Last Decade, known as the Gold Award, from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And recent awards for Shanru include 2009 North Carolina Visual Arts Fellowship and 2011 Chapel Hill Community Project Grant. And she has taught as an assistant professor at both North Carolina State University and East Carolina University, and it is my pleasure to present Shanru.
Thank you. Thank you, Mana. Hello, everybody, and good evening. I'm original from Taiwan, so English is not my first language. If I get nervous, I tend to speak really fast. You tell me to slow down, and you can ask questions as well. And I feel really humbled to be standing here to talk about my work, and thank you, Mana, and thank you, Department of Art and Design, to invite me back. And hopefully you enjoy the lecture today, and also know today is the very first lecture for your class. Hopefully I'm not disappointing you, but I have a lot of images to show you. Right. First one, let me talk about a little background. So growing up in Taiwan and educated in the United States, so my work constantly deals with ideology between East versus West, mind versus body, and imagination versus science. This is one of the scenery in Taiwan. So by experiencing two different cultures, East and West, I have realized that no matter what kind of system you live with, the essential human being won't disappear. And the essential human being is the one I search for in my work. Now a little background. Growing up in Taiwan, I found creating and making things was a way for me to connect to the world around me. And the story was told when I was in kindergarten. I never spoke a word in the kindergarten. And the teacher was very worried until one day my mom showed up to pick me up, and I said, "Oh, my mom's here." And the teacher was in tears because I just so shy, I didn't speak a word. And then in this more restricted environment in Taiwan for 30 years ago has denied my artistic expression because of my below average skill in Chinese calligraphy, which I got paint all over my body every time I take class, and formally traditional painting, and so the teachers say, "I don't think she's good at anything, probably a lot of things." But thanks to my parents, who sent me to private lessons during the weekend, not because they think I have talent, just because I enjoy painting with my finger and my arm. So I was able to receive some early training in art. So at age 5, I started using my hand to draw and make objects also to express my feeling. And today, still I can continue to communicate my feeling intuitively with my work throughout my hands. So there's another section of story. I was sent to fashion design school, but I actually like making than doing the fashion work. Then I decided to search more in my life, so I applied to the Institute of Chicago. So 20 years ago, I went to the United States and studied in the School of Institute of Chicago. My first culture shock in art, what is probably sounds similar like this, is a wonderful art history course, and they introduced me to Robert Rauschenberg's work. It was not about scale alone anymore, but imagination and image. And this is more significant for me because that was the first time in my life I sensed the freedom of creating art and knowing there's no limit in the world of creativity. And it was really eye-opening experience, and the environment in our institute just let me play with anything I want. And further, because I love making things, naturally I draw to attraction to the nature of fiber art, which is the labor-intensive process, which I love to stitch, I love to make things. So I created this work called Mending Densely Before You Depart. It's the idea of celebrating the love of stitching. So a lot of times I tell people fiber art actually found me. Without a fiber art, I would not imagine where I'll be here today. And my parents are probably very proud of me because I can actually standing in front of you to speak, and today is a huge deal. And in textile, there's so much potential in different techniques, material, idea, and format in the field of textile art. If a single thread can create a really powerful force, and can you imagine what else you can do with a piece of cloth? So I learned a lot of different techniques in traditional textile techniques such as weaving, dye, screen printing. But I'm more intrigued what those precious techniques could do for my imagination. Over the years, I combine various techniques such as weaving, batik, screen printing, and different materials to create my sculpture / installation. And my work are various in materials, forms, and process. But mainly, they all have 3 common characteristics. I'm going to talk about it briefly. First, unusual materials. In my work, I'm not only using visual image alone, but also use common material from objects such as thread, plastic, rusty belt, mirror, glass, coffee filter, fish hook, razor blade, green bean sprouts, and I use them to question, reflect, and respond intuitively to the environment around me. And I'm going to talk about more about material much later on in the lecture. The second, the body. The body is born in nature and constructed by culture. But mainly our body is universal without a boundary of country, culture, and religion, and society. So I use body as a common vessel to communicate. So for example, like this work is inspired object by different culture and customs, such as this one, which has a really funny story. And a couple years ago, I saw a lot of Korean movie, and probably some of you saw it, that how they grew a little string of chili paper hanging outside their house. So it's just so beautiful in the scene. So I sometimes went to shop in the grocery store, in Korean grocery store, and I asked the owner, so why there's a string of chili paper outside the house? And the owner said, oh, because they have a newborn son. And I asked, so what happened to your daughters? Oh, you don't do anything for the daughter. And instant, my stomach has pain, have a pressure to have a baby, have a son. And then I went back to buy like 40 pounds of chili paper, which you know that chili paper. And I went back to use double weed to weed those structure into the double weed structure. And then in the long part, if you don't know much of weaving, you can open the double weed, become a container. So it's like 20 pounds of chili paper. So all things start in white, and I dip the whole thing in the water. So actually just naturally staying with the work. So when I present this work, a lot of time I wasn't able to talk about the story. But even though the Western audience may not know the relationship, or even Eastern audience don't know the relationship of using chili paper, they might not know the relationship between red chili pepper and newborn son in the Korean culture. But certainly they have the feeling of the weight, the pressure, and the body in this work. And a lot of women come to me, they can see that clearly this is about birth. But to me, it's just amazing, it's just thread and chili paper. So also the scale, over larger than body size scale of my work. And this work is called Re-Materialization. It was 1 year anniversary contribute to 9/11. The Tropical Art Council invited a couple artists to create a work about the event. So when most artists create memorial sites and political issue, I decided to create a work is about compassion and about how we all interconnect together in society. So this whole work is all made by silk, and it's so light. And when you walk close to it, you will move even by your own breathing. And then as one ball moves, rest of them move, just like we are all interconnected somewhere, somehow. So the scale, some people might recognize the space. And so I tend to work with scale larger than me. And when I was in school, I did not know why. I just have this instinct, I just have to make it bigger. But other people can tell me to make something small so I can present in the gallery and can sell it easier for my life. But to me, it's like a curse. But I just want to see it in the space, because when you see something bigger than you and suspended in the space, it's very different when you see something so small you can hold in your hand and put in your pocket. You feel you own this object, you can put it away, you can cherish it, and it's very different feeling that you see something bigger than you. And to me, your body starts to have a gut instinct reaction to communicate with the space than just something you can own, you can control. And I think that's one of the feeling I want to communicate with my audience without words or without any articulation or anything. So that's why I create large scale work. And that's another example. And ultimately, I hope to use my work to reach and connect the most basic and essential human emotion and connection without any boundary. And not long ago, I found the source of my passion for larger work, because as a struggle artist, this question people can come up, why can you make something smaller and we can buy? So I feel like I need to search for answers. So I found my passion for larger work because when I was growing up in Taiwan, which you can see something like this, you can find street performers near the temple all the time. And those giant puppets are always my favorite one, but can be also my biggest fear. See, those giants have such long arms and they swing them violently on the street. While they walk on the street, they perform, and I love to see them, but I'm always very scared of them because they're bigger than you and they are very uncertain. And finally, when the performance is over, they sit in the temple and resting, and I start to dare to get closer, even take this picture. And then realize the scale and elaborate decoration create a magical attraction and repulsion. And it always stirs emotion in me. It can be beautiful and at the same time dangerous and uncertain. It is the power of the sublime. Through those settings, I find it can articulate my vocabulary to communicate my feeling with larger scale work. Now it's a quiz. Where does my inspiration come from? It could be self-reflection and wondering. And a lot of times from stories, from comments from people, culture, my own upbringing and travel and life experience. And one of this work, I'm not going to elaborate, it's very old work, and I have to give all the credit to Mana, because one of the conversations, while I was thinking about the idea of the Western medicine and Eastern medicine, how they look at the human body differently, also the rationalization and irrational. And one day she just walked in the studio with a bag of marshmallows and say, why don't they put the marshmallow and say, this is non-fat? People eating marshmallow, they shouldn't think about it's fat or non-fat. Then in my mind, okay, marshmallow equal irrational. So from Taiwan, I never seen marshmallow before at the time. It's just so beautiful and smell wonderful. So I decided to put 38 pounds of marshmallow in the floor. I don't know if you remember this. And yet, but the light started shining when I sat out in the Union Gallery, and then they started to bake the marshmallow, so it became really sweet smell. It's quite interesting. So that's one of the little story. And my second culture shock is the trip I went to the Paris of Notre Dame. And I still remember the first time when I visited the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris, and when I was experiencing the spiritual feeling by its beautiful rose window and vaulted ceiling, I looked down, I saw those prayer benches, just like the one I grew up in Taiwan. I started to realize that no matter what culture you are from or religion you have chosen, the basic human needs and desires are very similar. And that's awakened moment for me to become more, encourage myself to look at my own culture and bring it into the Western society. And I also, as a teacher, I created an equation of my work because I have to make people make sense why I'm creating my work. So I took about my concept idea and used different image, material at large scale and become my installation. But I also want my viewers' attention, your own memory, and your own imagination, and your own body, and your attention to communicate with our work. Because I think at the point I started to realize I'm not an artist who was screaming at people, doing very controversial things and naked running on the street. As a Chinese, I guess as I get older, I get more Chinese. I become more subtle. So if my audience is not ready to see things, it's okay for me, and they are not going to see it. So I kind of have this reciprocal relationship with my work and my audience. So there's another example of how my thought process or design process for my work. And Mana probably remember this because we took this picture in Taiwan. So this is a very familiar fortune teller sign in Taiwan, Asia, Hong Kong, China, and Taiwan. And it's a map of a mall. So by saying the mall is, you have good fortune, or you're going to kill your boyfriend, or you're going to be obedient. So there's an ultimate mall, and people can check on their mall because, oh my God, this is the worst one. So I can go to as fortune teller to remove the mall. And when I was little, I always wondered, so if you can all do that, so why someone still have a bad life? Why someone has a better life? That doesn't make sense if it's working. So I have this thing in my mind. I never questioned or asked anyone something in my file. And until I was in the United States working in my studio actually in Kenilworth at midnight, and I only got $1 TV, black and white, and only channel I can get is Jerry Springer at night. And only commercial I can get is 1-800-Psychic. And I was shocked. I said, wow, America is so modern society, you still need to watch 1-800-Psychic. It's just unspeakable. And then I started to realize it doesn't matter how modern your society, the basic human need for answer is still there. So it doesn't really matter. And then, so it's another moment for me to create the work. So I created this work called Everyone Praying for a Good Life. I simply created this work with a simple question I had since I was little. If everyone is praying for a good life, then who has a bad one and why? So I literally create a clothing space, like a different box, and stitch each restaurant, go to a little shirt, and attach to the top with acupuncture needle. And it took 72 hours to set up this work. And the security guard in the gallery is saying I'm really crazy, so he refused to talk to me at all. So, and you can see I only use my work to present idea and the phenomena or question I have in my mind. And the whole world is suspended in the air and magically balanced on its own. And when I finish work, sometimes it just takes on its own life. And I feel like I'm the only one to control the work. It's someone else doing it with me. And it just stays. And always very lucky. Nothing falling apart yet. So another inspiration is from different residency and travel. And so one reason I traveled to Thailand for the first time in summer 2006. And for people who've done residency before, you actually put yourself in the environment is not very familiar. You don't have your tour, you don't have a studio, you don't know where to get material. To me, it's a wonderful challenge I love for me. So I tend like to travel and find different residencies if I could. So in Thailand, I even found a fortune teller sign, but I cannot read the language, but I can tell it's about fortune teller. So you see a similar sign. And there's a couple, and I see different kind of monks travel freely, and very different than the monk in Taiwan. So to me, it's kind of religious shock, even it's all Buddhism. And you see the sign space for monk, where you don't find a sign for elderly or disabled. And you see those signs for no ladies allowed. So I found Buddhism in Thailand is a very different one, and different one than the one in Taiwan. And you focus on superstitious more than teaching meditation, which is the one I'm familiar with. And as a fiber artist, I'm always interested in how people use craft in life. So one of the serious taboo for monk is not to touch a female. So even I drawn next to, I was working with monk in the coastal river. If I fall off, and he cannot say, he said, he has let me die because he cannot touch me. That's why the faculty in Thailand is bringing it to me. So surprisingly, I have learned that in order for monks in Thailand to receive money from women, they will bring out a piece of orange cloth in front of you, and you put money in there, and then they would drag a piece of cloth and put in their pocket. So it's like, wow, the cloth become a divider for physical touch. It's quite interesting idea. At the same time, I found a lot of beautiful temple has this weird white string going on, and a lot of people been to Thailand, nobody saw it, I don't know why, but I'm taking a lot of pictures, I guess. I'm very sensitive because it's just very white. And you go through the window, don't know if you see it, go through the window, go to a different Buddha, and go to the tree and connect to the non-Buddha. And I found it everywhere. I found a string in every temple and every cave. And I asked a lot of people in Thailand, they have no idea what's that for. And then finally, someone gave me the answer, I'm not sure it's true or not. They said, oh, it's because if you touch one string, it connects all the Buddha. So you have all the power from all the Buddha into this one string. And to me, it's like, wow, it's so unbelievable. As a fiber artist, that string could be so powerful. And therefore, the string became a very powerful communication tool. Okay, so that's the two ideas. And also in Thailand, if you've been to that, you can find a very interesting antique relic, which is from some kind of master monk's tomb, and they can possess power. Even my friend told me that you can even buy the one to prevent gunshot or to steal someone's wife, and so many different kind of relics you can buy. But you can also buy a very cheap one. That there's the ceramic one, like $20 a bucket. All right, so as artists, of course, I'm going to use this kind of ceramic, kind of fake relic. And so with the idea of cloth, idea of string, and idea of relic, I created this work in Thailand called Sacred Connection. So I literally used the relic, and I found in the market, and placed it in the spoon, and dip in the wax, and connect by individual string. So the string from the back actually connect to the front, go through the hole, and connect to the spoon. So within the space created by this work, I create a special sacred area for my viewer and myself to immerse in the power of the thread. There's so much potential in different textiles, so much potential in different techniques, material, ideas, and format. If a single thread can create such a powerful force, like the one in Temple of Thailand, then can you imagine the power when the single thread grows into a piece of cloth? The possibility is endless. Now back to our topic of the tonight. I'm going to talk more about material, and I have a special relationship with material that spanned my career for nearly 20 years. Thanks God, there's so many materials I can work with in the United States. So in this presentation, I have categorized different purposes of using objects in my work, and what my attitude toward the material is, and how they play into my concept. So the first one is a material as a metaphor. Embed the metaphor of the material into an overall concept. So using object to tell a story instead of a word and image it alone. Material provides endless imagination through its physical property, character, form, shape, and its own history. In the unbearable lightness of being, the garment, the metaphor for the body, was suspended and dragged on the floor gracefully. On the top, homegrown bean sprout, which has a short lifespan, were enclosed in cloth. The act of stitching was a metaphor for enclosing the spirit of the bean sprout, which dried in 2 days. On the bottom, section of the garment stitched with red thread and wrapped with rusty roof nail, which has been aged and rusted for years. With these two opposite materials coexist into one body form. I create this dynamic, graceful setting. It contradicts yet balanced with intensity in the space to represent the struggle between the spirituality and the physical body. Objects such as land to farmer, handcraft pieces to the craft person, and artwork to the artist, they become part of extended self. Because we have intentionally worked upon creating these things, investing both energy and self in them. In this way, I use coffee filter as a metaphor for filtration of the mind, and fish hook for attachment, and hanging rock for balance, and the things we carry in our mind. And the rock sometimes will drop, so it's quite poetic actually in the expression space. And for this work called Food, Desire, Health, and Spirituality, Weights We Carry in Life, I contemplate how humans search for meaning and imagination through one's own environment in the different stages of its life. In this work, I use different food material to represent the things we carry in our mind, such as food, desire health and spirituality. So I use feather, snow fungus, red chili pepper, seaweed noodle. This will integrate a variety of concepts concerning elements in our everyday living, both materialistic and spiritual. It transcends boundary and stretch people's imagination. It speaks to many, not just audience from Asia, through material, details, and scale, about my passion in life and art. Second, the power of repetition, from form to variety, from individual differences to universal harmony. In this work, the life is polished. Each plastic shirt was carefully crafted and assembled into an overall sculpture. I use the intensity of detail and repetition with my materials. I carefully craft them so they are not just something stuck into the surface like collage, but become a community as a whole. Each individual or object might be different, but as a whole they are very similar, just like humans. Even though we might be different in culture, religion, and society, but at the end, the needs and behavior are very similar. When you see the white cloth covered with rusty veil, but you won't make any sound in the work of silent white, there's no word could describe the emotion and the concept better than the wax encased rusty veil for the power of silence. When one surrounded with 100 red letter scarves hanging in the space, what kind of emotion could be triggered? In this work, contemplation in vigorous work, I want to create an overwhelming sensation of grabbing, like hand, as an idea of wanting, and what would be more appropriate than just being about themselves. This free-floating red letter scarf becomes an ocean of desire. It creates a tension between attraction and repulsion. So the multiplicity of a small image, detail, and object that make up the whole reveal the individual and universal simultaneously. I was hoping with this work, while our eyes and minds are wandering and searching for those prayers and wishes, we could find a quiet spot in the reflectional mirror to have a moment of contemplation and self-reflection. Working with common material and repetition allow me to explore the idea of impermanent connection between the body and the mind. In this work, imagery materials such as razor blade, silk, dyed cotton, and magnet disc will orchestrate and recreate the imagination experience for my viewers in their own body and minds. So the two-sided fabric actually have each thread coming to the center and connected to a razor blade. And there's a magnet disc there, so it's kind of intermittent session. As within the neuroscience community, consciousness is thought to be maintained by so-called default network in the brain. The neuron communicates through axon, much like a little magnet and thread connect in an intermittent fashion. Constant building connection while losing all one, and the intensity of the repetition and the feeling of attraction and repulsion. The sense of the beauty and danger create a state of surprise. So to push this idea and this characteristic of the material further, I created a next work, which is kind of crazy. I decided to see what a magnet disc would do when they're hanging on the ceiling. And so I created this work. It's 20 feet wide, and then I spent a whole week to nail all the magnet discs in the ceiling. And each single thread started in different color, stitched to the silk, and connect with razor blade and suspended in the ceiling. It took the museum, I think, 1 week to set up the disc, and when I was there, a whole week with 10 people working on the piece. And I don't know when the next time I can show this piece again, because it's way labor intensive. And we have like a whole classroom of people coming to remove the table so we can see the floor. And it actually did. So sometimes it's very dangerous if you want to just say, what if this would happen? Third, repurpose and reverse discard product and use it as raw material embedded with craft tradition. The integration and collaboration between handmade and machine-made product. And finished product are the newest raw material in today's art, craft, and design world. In so many ways, craft is still about what it's always about: the integral process of making, the joy of mastery, the material exploration, the secret but attainable knowledge, the mark of a maker, reference point of human scale, the aesthetic relationship between hands and mind, and the honest and sincere dedication. So there's another process of how my mind is working. So, for example, this was actually inspired by finding some material. So I created this little process. So I found these pink plastic sheets. It's outside the NC State surplus because it's so disgusting. They don't even want to sell it in the surplus store. They throw it in the trash can. And I found that because each plastic is only 5x7, it's kind of oil and stick together. I have no idea what they're for, but it's so pink. I have to take it home. And I wash each one of plastic and start printing. And I don't know why I'm printing it. I'm printing a lot of Chinese children playing in there. So my process to take it home, when I found a material, it just intrigued me. I just have to have it without knowing why. I take it home, wash, and print it. Then I fall into these little houses and making it and insert it there. And in the end, it's the final product you'll see. And I was honored to be a residency in San Francisco in Helen Center for Art for that year. So I would bring all the printed plastic sheets with me without knowing what I'm going to do with it, and just ask for sewing machine and start making these houses. So in 2 months, the process of making those almost 800 houses, only until 1/3, near the completion, the final vision of the work came to me. But during the making, I continued to have a conversation and what I call relationship with the material. I see what I can push, what I can do, and constantly I investigate its strengths and characteristics of the overall structure. I think one thing about textile is taking a lot of time, it's slow, but it helped me and help a lot of people to think and refine your final product will be. So after 2 months, that's as much as I can make, and I created this work called The Ripple of Resonance. And the whole thing just suspended in there. So I insert each house with rusted bell covered in wax, so it won't make any sound. This simple yet sometimes sophisticated notion intrigues me. Allow me to instinctively express the overwhelming sensation of the hidden voices. They have been forced into silence, but still retain a pure, untouched inner presence that echoes throughout the silent bell. The profusion of material questions the physical and psychological relationship, organic and mechanical, harshness and softness, spiritual mind and mundane body, and composite energy and impeccable silence. The last one. Reduced memory plus intense labor equal relief memory. What is present should speak of what is absent, not only words and pictures, but things tell their stories in a language other than image making or speaking. So 3 years ago, in my personal life, someone close to me, my grandmother passed away, and then a couple months later, my father got sick, and then eventually he passed away. So I think I'm very fortunate to be an artist, especially a fiber artist. I find that making art and doing this work help me to grasp this reality, because my father and I are very close to each other. A lot of times we don't have to talk, we kind of know what each other is thinking. So by doing that, and I start to examine his life and the relationship me and him, and at the same time, someone gave me boxes of those petri dishes. It's a defect from the factory. So as when I was examining the old picture and the relationship with my father, and I started printing those images, which is my father holding me, which is small, and my elder sister on the side. And I started printing it and started making this work over here, over there. So I created a physical space which all the three coming out from the disc and actually create like a river, and there's a gap. There's a string at the end which become two separate spaces. And there's a couple details. And one day when I called, after like my father passed, one year my mom, I was in conversation with my mom, and she said, oh, because my father is a government employee for 50 years, and he has so many shirts and suits, and she said she's going to donate to Goodwill. And I said, no, do not do that. And then she said, why? I said, I'm going to quit my work. And then I found a legit reason to keep his stuff. So then I flew back to Taiwan, I get all his shirts, and create this word called Do Not Iron For Me Anymore. And his 22 shirt was iron burn, and that's one of the kind of interesting stories. So when I was a teenager, well, before that I was a very, very obedient Chinese daughter. So I ironed my father's shirt every single day, and he liked it, I guess. And then when I started to go out with friends and started dating, then I kind of discarded this job. And then one day he complained to my mom, saying, Jen Ru, did they iron my shirt anymore? It's kind of sad to say that. And my mom told me, but at the time I said, well, too bad. But I guess the event stuck with me. And it became a breaking point of relationship, like different relationships grow out of from a little girl become a more mature girl. So when he passed away, for some reason this thing just coming into my mind, and I started to look at his shirt, and I started to use iron to burn each shirt, and I sew it together, and so created this word called Do Not Iron For Me Anymore, and that's in different view. And of course, I cut off the sleeve so the shirt will line up nicely. And a lot of people say those are very nice shirts. A lot of European shirts quite expensive, but I burn each one. But now his shirt can stay with me legitimately, always. Like, it's my art. I got to keep it. I cannot give it to people away. So I cut off the sleeve, then I create another work. I try to use this thing called longing, which I sew all the sleeve into the center and have a heavy batting, some kind of like a quilt. So I don't know if you can see it. So if you see the shirt in the center, you button all together, the edges and hug me and close it, really kind of nice feeling to it. So to me, it's just wonderful, and I'm very fortunate to be the artist to just use his material so I can have those. And at the same time, when my grandmother passed away, who died with a long illness, so she's kind of disintegrated. She's 95, so it's a story. And I remember the last time when I was hugging her in the bed, and we were very close to each other. And I started imagining if someone could go through the passage to pass to different life, what's in their mind and what could be carried. So I started imagining, okay, if everybody's going to die, you're going to have one underwear. You cannot carry anything, only thing you can carry is your pocket. So I created this pocket for things we carry. And I try to imagine at the end of her life, what she was thinking. So maybe just a little food to sustain the life, and maybe a little bit desire, a little bit wishes. So I put the red chili pepper into the pocket also as a little, also follows metal ear picker and stitch at the end. So it's something missing you or something, think about it. And so create this work of things we carry in life. And I have to collect different underwear from different uncles because it's quite interesting. So the work of art is called for attention, for waiting and paying attention to. They push the body act of consumption into a mental act of contemplation. So at first, my father had a stroke, and then in the end, he has another event in his brain. So, you know, when you have someone who's been in hospital for 7 months, in ICU for 7 months, and most of the time you have to be really rational and to make decisions. Every time we look at MRI film to say, okay, what should we do now? Is it improving or not improving? So people tend to be really rationalized. So until every event finish, I just think, well, is it real? Or maybe it's just a dream. And I start to hit me. And I said, oh, all we judge is by the film, or by those images from MRI. How do we know it's real? And so I decided to make this piece called Re-Materialization and Relive Memory, to actually literally use his MRI film to do the cyanotype on the piece. And I create this work. And you can see, so I physically use the brain image to create a pouch, and filled with chili pepper and hanging below it, like a little temple. And I don't know why, I just have to have a physical feel to it for the whole event to make sure it actually really happened, not just something abstract or wake up. Because when my father is in Taiwan, in the United States, just sometimes just phone call away. So it could be just not real, who knows? So it's good. I'm saying because I'm an artist, so I can make work and make myself grounded. Say yes, it is real. And also this pretty new work in 2011, the end of 2011, is called Corrosion. And I feel at a time in my life, so many things and so many people control me. And when I make those little shirts, which you probably see a lot of my image, it's quite interesting because it even use cloth or paper, and probably everybody know how to make those shirts. It's like the geometric shape of shirts feel like try to restrict a human or animal size of human being into this box. And then I found those interesting metal and hook, and I decided to put it together and create this work. And that is called self-reflection and human condition. That's the opening when they ask me what's the work about. And sometimes when the work's so new, I really have no answer. It's just my gut instinct. I'll have to make it. So I just say, oh, it's about self-reflection and human condition. Which could be something else next year, who knows. And so still continue even like after 3 years my father passed away. I have a lot of his love letter. He wrote a lot of letters to my mom. And so I can see his dream. It's like I discovered my father in different stages of life. Before he's authority figure, and he's like a minister of the whole custom in Taiwan. He's a very serious man, but it's very funny and loved his family. But when I read his letter when he was 30, talk about his dream and the hope for the family, and you just feel like it's a very different person, especially compared myself at a similar age. And then he stuck in this government job for 50 years. It actually became the existence of his life. So I decided to use this little green shirt to create this work to kind of honor him. It's called The Pursuit of Existence. And you can see some details. It's quite wide and quite insane. Each one has a little stitch of pitch dishes filled with chili pepper. Also have a little toy soldier at the end. And for this exhibition, I also created a work called The Impeccable Beauty. And I dyed the silk, and I rust the razor blade. I don't know what's the reason. And I let the razor blade stain on the cloth. And I start to stitch together to, I think in some way, I want to create something really graceful and beautiful and sort of dangerous at the same time, but has some kind of strength. I use a lot of silk organza, which is this translucent fabric. It's so fragile, so beautiful, but at the same time it can hold so much weight because this is probably like, I don't know, 10 dozen or 10, I don't know, 8,000, well, 800 of razor blade filled in this whole dress. And to me, in fiber art, there's so many potential. And I just realized work of art push body act of consumption into the mental act of contemplation. And fiber art allowed me to do that because it includes so many different things. And I really thank UWM at the time and Mana to give me a room and wonderful environment. They don't judge, at least they don't tell me like what did I do right or wrong, but they just let me grow. And it actually let me kind of develop whatever I want to do. And sometimes I don't have an answer. And I think it's quite interesting. It is my gut feeling, my intuition, I just have to do it. And sometimes the answer comes in much later when I look back the whole path of my work. So this is the end of my work, but lately I have, because the experience with my father, and I feel so lucky to use my father's shirt and the material into my work. And I started to realize maybe a lot of people have a similar experience. And especially we have a senior center in Chapel Hill who has so many seniors, and I started to think about maybe I should contribute to the community. So I wrote this proposal about collecting different community people coming here, bring their own clothes, and talk about their story. And then we use these clothes, and that's one of the flyer. Mama said, don't let you guys read it, because it would take too long. So this is just cover flyer. So the basic idea is, some people have a wonderful memorable shirt. They can bring it into a fashion show, and also we can use as an installation, permanent artwork for Chapel Hill, and which I got a grant and conduct the whole year. So the idea is donate shirt, we make panel, and I conduct probably 10 different workshops doing stitch, painting, and then the lady has conversation about a story, and they just enjoy it so much, and they come to my house probably like 10 weeks every weekend to cook, to sew, and tell a story, and the end is really beautiful, beautiful panels, and we have like 220 panels, and the end I put it together, and this for the proposal and the site, and so a little detail, and it's permanent stay in the space, and that's the thing we reveal the whole work. So the whole work is 13 feet and 15 feet tall, and if you happen to in Chapel Hill, there's a beautiful senior center, you should stop by to see it. And right after that, all the ladies keep calling me, so what's next, what's next? So I feel so honored, but it's also quite interesting. And at the same time, I want to do something fun for them. So all the garment we didn't use for the installation, we actually create really funky fashion show. And we have 2 fashion shows for them. And we have a 13 senior, they all make different garments. We have like 30 different garments, and they all perform, and we have fashion show twice in a row, and they just enjoy and love it, and we record everything. And in this meantime, in the middle project, so this is just finished in May 30th, all right? So in the middle of this project, around April, I got invited to go to Morocco to do a residency and also participate in the first biennial Casablanca. And I was contemplating, should I do it, should I not? And I'm so glad I did, because it just happened my installation is in the fireproof stage, so I can escape for 2 weeks. So I was in this beautiful Morocco setting, but then the reality is thinking I have to find material, find inspiration. And I find quite intriguing is the spices. And just all those images I just pulled down from my Facebook because it's so new and I haven't sent me the final photograph yet. So I decided to create a spice houses and all the different kind of utensil and kitchenware I found in the street market there. So I created this work called Hear Me or Not, and which is so new. And I think if you've been to Morocco on a car, you will see, you will have like 5-hour car ride with dust. And you will see there's people walking in there. And there's no village in between. And you wonder how long they've been walking on the street. And in the city, it's so rich and beautiful, it's party all the time. So I feel it's kind of contradict to each other. So I create a chair and with spot, so people, the audience can sit there. And each house has a little spice and also carry a string. And at the end have a spoon with the couscous at the end. And tour the chair. And it's different view. And this is actually the very famous painter in Montreal. And thank you. And thank you the department, and special thank you to Mana for having me here. And this reference, any question? All right, 15 minutes, come on.
I was wondering for your silent ride, do you have to wear your gloves to display them?
Yeah, that actually is the biggest problem. I took the glove and to take a picture, but when I display, I have to create another glove filled with rice, so you create a form. And this, you actually have a exhibit in a different setting, so it's not as good as actually people wear it. And a lot of people told me I should collaborate with a dancer or performer, which hopefully one day I will do, and they might be quite interesting results. So that's a very good question. Yes?
I noticed you have a lot of red string in your pieces. Why
Yeah.
red?
Hi, Red. And when I was little, I wanted to be a monk. Okay, and one of the rules in Taiwan or in Taiwanese Buddhism is you cannot eat red chili pepper, you cannot eat green onion, you cannot have a garlic because those things cause you desire. And so for me, it just stuck in my mind. Oh, red, spicy, all those chili pepper cause me desire. So I use that as a metaphor for desire or wish or wanting something. Does it answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. kind of get me only halfway. I love the movie. I love the feeling and the struggle in the movie. It kind of inspired me, and I like the name as well. So it was started because of the title and because of the literature. Yes?
The little bells, where did that come from? I know in one piece you said it was the silence that caused with the
Yes.
wax, but you did them in other pieces too. Was that to represent the silence?
Yes.
Okay. Why did you use little bells? I'm just wondering where that came from.
I try to think about very, very first time. I use a lot of wax in my work, especially for string, so it won't be tangled too much, because I have to think about those installation of the pattern. And I think one time, when I wax the string, I tend to put something in the wax to see what happened. And when the first time I see the belt kind of freeze in the wax, I just, oh my God, the moment stopped, and whatever you want to say, it stopped right there. But you can see they want to say it. And a lot of times that's my feeling, because like with a group of people, when everybody's talking, I have a really hard time to jump into a conversation. In the end, I kind of just swallow what I want to say and wait for a while. And a lot of times in our life, the things we want to say but we not say. And that's why I use it as a metaphor, as kind of hidden voice, like something you know you want to say it, but you cannot say it. Yes?
In a lot of your work, it seems like it sort of has a quality of seeming to be like floating or levitating.
Mhm.
Is there a reason for that, or is it just a way to present it? You know,
Uh,
a practical thing, or is it like?
It's not a practical thing, because you make my life really difficult. But it actually has reason, because when I talk about large scale, so like this piano is large scale than me, but I feel really safe, really stationed in there. But when you see something hanging, when the air conditioning moves, the thing might shift a little bit, even just a little bit, you feel like it's like kind of surrender me or swallow me, and you feel like a very different feeling when you see something really like a huge marble standing right in front of you. And that's the one who's hanging is the one I want to have feeling for my work, or to feel the audience and my voice kind of in the same level, and they can truly communicate with the experience under or look at the work. So the hanging is actually quite important. So the first time when every time when I roll the proposal, when they accept my work, I will say, can I hang on the ceiling? That's usually my very first question, and then I know which wall you will work in the space.
I'd like to know how you store your works, and I'd also like to hear about your process in terms of both maybe documenting, okay, this is how this work should be assembled when you have to send it somewhere,
Yeah.
and also just planning your work. So are you just proceeding intuitively, or you make sketches and then assemble it? How does that work?
There's many different processes. Sometimes it starts by the material, and then the ideas keep coming in, and then I start. So let's talk about the process coming to the work. But in the process, because in reality, my work is installation. It's not commercial work. So I know I have to store it somewhere. So in my design, I already think about, okay, how do I put it away in section by section? And the good thing with, sometimes the thing is like, I guess, disadvantage sometimes become your advantage, because I use the disadvantage to say, okay, my work is so big, how can I put it away? Then I use the characteristic into how do I design the whole piece together. And luckily, the power of textile, you can just squeeze it into a box. So most of all the work can be stored in the TV box, and I just hide it in my house, attic, garage, and the process of setting up. So a lot of time people will fly me over to install the work, but sometimes I cannot go. So when I set out the work first time, I document every step. From the step of opening the box, you'll see this and how I pack. Because even I set out the work, I want the gallery to pack the way it is and send it back to me. Because I don't have a big studio at all. There's no way I can open the work to represent it before the next show. So usually I send the whole box to the next show, and then I will go there to open it. Either I have to repair it or change things because they didn't pack well. So thanks to technology and digital camera, it's very easy to do PowerPoint and my poor English, I can just put arrow here, attach the pin right here, and just have a step-by-step picture to show to them. Yes?
I really like your reuse of material. I want to know, do you have like inspirational hotspots that you know there's going to be a bunch of excess material? Like, do you
Yeah,
have?
like the scientific surplus in
Okay.
Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I hope I can visit it this time. From different cities, different thing. In Georgia, which I lived 2 years, there's a kind of weird store. I forgot what they call it. It's just some kind of junk people reject from the factory. And so we always have those. And then I guess people started donating to me too. So a lot of my mama donate like parachutes and different material.
Yeah, a parachute in that one big round piece is courtesy of Wisconsin State Surplus. I got it, used it, and she was looking for something like that. And I went, let me look at my closet.
Yeah. Yes?
I noticed you used a lot of, or you used the floor a lot for your pieces.
Use what?
The floor.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of the things you used on the floor were circular. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that.
I never think about the things on mirrors, circular. I think I consciously thinking when I think about the space, I want people actually, or audience actually inside the space. So I can see the ceiling, the midsection, also the floor. So I want, they go back to the other question, how do I envision the world? So when I started envisioning the world, I imagine myself standing in front of the future world, and then try to see that's the feeling I want or not. So it's kind of, I turn my mind off, I turn it on rationally and turn it off intuitively, back and forth to see what do I want to do. And sometimes the mirror is kind of draw attention for people to look down to themselves or reflect the world itself. So I haven't think about the circular thing. That's a very good point, I was thinking about it. Yeah, but the mirror I got usually in circular form. It's very organic shape. So, thank you. Yes?
Shanru, you talked about the relationship between East and West,
Yeah.
and it seems to me that the titles are really important to you in your work. And you also talked about your skills with English and your native language. I'm curious if you can talk about how you negotiate that as you're working, and whether some of the titles occur to you in Chinese and you translate them into English,
Yeah.
where obviously the unbearable lightness of being occurred to you in English, but then do you think about it in Chinese and bring it back, or just how do you like move back and forth between those?
Well, I think just like you say, I'm moving back and forth. So sometimes, depending on inspiration, I cut a couple of slides. Actually, one of the slides used Chinese character of marriage, woman plus home, equal marriage. And that's another piece more directly inspired by the Chinese language. But in my own work, and I pretend I'm still Chinese, and I'm in Western environment, so I try to see truly how my heart and my gut feel to what inspired me to be here. And that's why I kind of call East versus West. Because if you've been to Taiwan, you know it's actually very blurred right now. With the global technology, it's not really East and West. It's more obvious in terms of different religion, like religion event here and religion event over there. And I try to combine them both. And I don't know, I could tell you this, when I argue with my husband, we argue in English. And we never argue in Chinese, because you'll be hurt so much. So we can say all the curse words on TV without hurting each other. So that's very, he's Chinese, so it's very convenient. And for that situation, why I think that's very useful for me. For other title, it just kind of, sometimes the title coming first, sometimes the title, a lot of times the title coming much later to try to search what's the right word for it. So, and I think a lot of times it's English first. Yes.
Have you considered the sense of smell in some of your work? Because I know that you...
Yes, it was my old cell. And it's funny when I told my husband I'm coming back to UWM, and one of his old friends from Milwaukee, right now is the president of a GE Technology, he asked him, is General still working something smell? Because I was working with coffee and milk, staining the giant coffee filter in in one of the
Yeah.
space, and I use a lot of chili pepper, I use actually a lot of smell.
And you get them wet too, and so I'd think that would imbue a certain sense of smell.
Yeah, and then one time when I do the coffee filter in Union Gallery, they say no more food into the gallery. So my boyfriend at the time always say, could you not do any food anymore, because at the time the milk is kind of cheese, it's kind of really thick. Yeah, and then there's ants flying around in the Union Gallery. So it was. I like the sense of smell, because I think sense of smell is very honest. You can say you either like it or don't like it.
I only ask because it's very closely tied to memory, and since memory is such an ongoing theme,
yeah.
I figured there would be
Yeah.
something of a connection there.
Yeah, but for the practical reason, I didn't use as much of the dentures food. Only I'm still using bean sprouts, but the smell is not too good, so I have to try it. Oh yeah, hi.
Do you ever work on trying to teach the community the skills that you use in your artwork so they can maybe learn to reappropriate their own refuse?
Yeah, that could be my very next step. And you talk about to train the community.
Yeah, teach them the skills to,
Yeah.
have a stitch that can hold the weight of something and what materials they can repurpose and what they can't.
Yeah, I think after this wonderful community project with Chapel Hill, my next step, we kind of think about two of their way. And when I was teaching, as I say, actually my whole 2 years all about repurposed material. And we actually look at the business of repurposed material, how can we recycle cereal box, and what kind of pattern we can make, and so they can produce more than just like slowly one by one. So actually, I cut down like 20 different slides from the students' work. So if are you art student?
No,
Yeah.
actually, I'm not. I'm
Okay.
one of the non-art students in the
Okay.
class.
Well, otherwise I can, when I'm here 2 weeks, I can show you different kind of slide in there. So yes, I did, but at the time when I was in NC State, I realized that the College of Design don't care about reused material. And they don't really care about teaching, even I'm so passionate, and my department head, which I shouldn't gossip, my department had come into my critique with all this, huh? Okay, don't worry, okay. Wait, they don't know the name. Well, only thing she says, people like the new and shiny. Why you guys make things old? Oh, okay. So that's my thing. But who knows, I might go apply different grants for the community to do as well. Anyone else? That's a very good question. Yes, they are very smart. Yes?
Have you ever, I mean, it hadn't happened, got your installation back and it was like really damaged, like, I'm calling this gallery. What did they do to this? Like tangled or whatever? Just wondering.
Oh, yeah. Tango is okay. Tango, I guess, yeah. Yeah, it's tough, but most gallery is okay. They all well behaved, and they follow the steps. But I think the wonderful one I got from China last time, it was horrible. The whole, I guess, I forgot it's the custom. It's a chili paper piece with double weight. So I have a bag of chili paper, everything I shipped to China, and come back. I don't know if the United States custom did it, so they cut the entire piece open, and I just use this tape it all together, and then send it to me. I was like shocked. And post office they actually raised a complaint, but it's not what to do. So I kind of have to repair it. And good thing in textile, a lot of things I can repair. So, like say, if the box received from this show, and I have to send to a different show, and I will go to set out work, I usually have a kit to repair and spare material in case I need to change something really quick and repair. And I guess that's the characteristic of my work. Yes?
You use razor blades instead of your pieces
Yeah.
too. What did those represent to you?
Well, I think, first of all, I was working with a magnet disc, and I tried to use needle to attach and detach the needle and the magnet disc, and it wasn't working very well. And then I found out people throw away the rusted razor blade, and I tried it, it worked really well. And it's a sense of beauty, also it's very dangerous. It's when the razor blade is rusted, it's really, really beautiful. The color is amazing. So the newest one, I actually I ordered it online, think like 20 dozen of razor blade. The one time, I don't know, FBI maybe put me on the list. And then I started rust it on my silk organza, and you create beautiful pattern, and then kind of razor blade become really beautiful. And so to me, it's something so beautiful, but when you realize razor blade, you feel, oh my gosh, it's kind of scary. And I feel that really like the attention to it, to the material and the relationship to the work. So the silk was stained with mark of razor blade, and then I stitched razor blade paint in the piece as well. So I kind of put the process into the work itself. Yes?
On average, how many people do you need to help you put up an exhibit?
Which one?
Anyone, just on average.
Well, 2 people would be nice. One time, one of the crazy show I had in Tennessee is one of university. I went there, the gallery, I guess is one of the faculty in charge of gallery, forgot the date. So I was right there in the middle of winter. The gallery is closed, and I have to find, and the opening is the second day. She totally forgot the date. And I have close security say, okay, I need to be in the space, and then we found out a box. And luckily I have a friend with me. And luckily there's a Walmart there. So we drove to Walmart, buy all the supply, and hang everything. I think we worked like 48 hours. And until the gallery guy come in, and she said, what are you doing here? I said, opening is today. I said, really? Not tomorrow? I said, I'm leaving tomorrow. So I think a lot of time, 2 people will be really nice. And usually I request maybe 3 or 4 people together, they'll be okay. Because sometimes you get too many people, then they'll start to do different things. And when it takes patience. So, for example, the razor blade and the mine piece, you actually have to go one string of time to kind of create this web in the center. So usually 1 people work better than 2 people, because I have people like gallery assistant, 2 of them working together, and they kind of start to become really weird. So 1 people can come up with their assistant and help set up. And so usually 3 people, 2 people to set up the whole solo exhibition, maybe a 6 or 7 large scale work in 2 days.
Okay.
Yes?
What was the purpose of the chili peppers?
Purpose of chili pepper?
Yes.
It tastes good. Well, it's one of the things that I mentioned earlier is it calls you desire.
Desire.
And also I love chili pepper. So that will be the last 2 I have to give up. So, yeah. And it's beautiful shape, and it makes you sneeze. And the bread is really, really, I don't know, not attraction, but really seductive. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone from over there? We haven't done anything.
Final comment, you've made UWM very proud.
Oh, thank you. If I can do it, you all can do it. And remember all those work, I have no studio. All those work created in the living room. Don't complain, say I have no space to sit up.
So feel free to come up and speak with Unruh. We'll be here in 10-15 minutes. And sure.